Welcome to My Best Ex, where we talk about friendship, relationships, and the what do we do now moments in life. This is a podcast by two exes who are besties, because who better to help you walk through the great midlife shifts than someone that dumped you in the past? I'm Gloria.
And I am Zina. And boy, oh boy, do we have a treat for you guys today. Who remembers who our special guest was supposed to be? Glo, do you remember? I see your hand up.
Yes, my hand is up. It is Sister Mary.
Yay! So welcome, Sister Mary. It's just an honor to have you. And is it fair to say we have a nun on our podcast? Is that okay to say?
Yeah, that's about right. Although a nun is kind of a nun is someone who is in a monastery. I'm actually a sister, but tomato, potato, tomato. There is a difference. So sisters are actually women religious who are what we call apostolic, which means we go out to work. We're out. You see us out and about, and then we're nuns are actually monastic. And nuns, when they take a vow of stability, kind of stay where they are, and their ministry is a little bit different. But yeah, you're right. Most people will say, "Oh, there's a nun." My brothers will say, "Yeah, we have a nun in the family," and I say, "Well, you have a sister."
I love that. You're already teaching us things. Look at that.
So sister, we have a sister in the house. Like Lori and I are sisters.
No,
and you're a sister.
Well, and we're all sisters from the big mister anyway. But yes, Lori, I am what you would call a vowed religious. Wow. So what does that mean? That's kind of a fancy term. Not even fancy term. That's a term for when a woman religious, and guys do it too, right? Because we do have vowed men religious. It's when you make a conscious commitment to commit to a certain lifestyle. And within that lifestyle, there are 3 vows: poverty, chastity, and obedience. Or as my one friend says, no money, no honey, and the boss, right? So there's poverty, which, as you can tell, I really don't live poor. It just means that we are very conscious on how we spend our money and how we put ourselves at service and ministry, what have you. And then chastity. Obviously, we choose not to get into committed relationships or even uncommitted relationships for that matter, right? Yeah. And that all of our energy is put towards our community living and our ministry, right? And our relationship with God. You got it, Gloria. And then and obedience. Obedience, used to mean you listen to the Mother Superior. If she says jump, you say how high. But really what obedience is that together we listen to the voice of God within, and what is our God, our higher power, inviting us to, and how we live our life and how we live our vows. Man, we skipped the runway. We went right to the air.
And I have to tell you, this is truly a delight for me. I grew up Catholic and I just loved the nuns that I had growing up. And I remember I still have a picture of me in my little white communion dress standing next to just all of the things. And I thought at different times in my life that I might become a nun, but I think it's more like a sister. I think it's more a sister than a nun. But anyway, let's talk. So how did you know that this is the life and the path that you wanted to go on?
Well, I'm what we call a late vocation. I'm only 15 years in, right? So, growing up, my parents sent me to Catholic school, and unlike you, I really wasn't thrilled with it, Gloria. It didn't impress me. And so I couldn't wait to be done with Catholic school and be out of the uniforms and the way that they did discipline and all those fun things. And so it really wasn't, it kind of wasn't always on my mind. And then different periods in my life, in high school, I got involved with our youth group, and I went to Mass every week. My parents didn't go to Mass. I walked or drove myself. And then from there, I kind of got involved in the parish, and there was something there, right? There was something there. Anybody who has had an experience of God or an experience where their spirituality is awakening, there's something there, and you want something more. So I was restless. I thought I wanted something more. So in talking to people, they said, "Well, you know what? It's typical. You got to get married, have kids, and buy a house, right? Those are the 3 ideals that people put out in front of you, at least in my Irish Italian culture, right? So all right, so I said, well, maybe that's it. Maybe I just need to, get married, have kids, and buy a house. So because I never do things in the right order, I kind of beat my own drum. I was dating on and off, and no guy was ever good enough for me, right? I always loved them, but I wasn't in love with them. And I had some really really great boyfriends, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna buy a house. So I bought a house, and that brings you some satisfaction, playing Martha Stewart and painting and decorating and all that fun. I'm like, all right, cool. And everybody's like, all right, now you need to settle down, fill in bedrooms. So, my sister was having a little difficulty. And so I took in one of my nieces to live with me. And so, okay, so, got to do the sort of the parent thing, which was kind of fun. Love my niece, love her to this day, and enjoyed, the time that my parents and I have had shared custody of her. So all that to say, oh, okay, now I'm like, still something's missing. Somebody said, I think you should be a nun. And I'm like, I think you're crazy. Because I'm not, I enjoyed life. Let's put it that way, right? So okay, maybe. So it kept coming back to me. You should be a nun. So I said, I'll go on a vocation, a discernment weekend. So I didn't want to tell anybody.
You
So
said a
I
discern. What did you call that?
It's called a discernment retreat. It's where you go away, and the whole topic of the weekend is where is God working in your life? And you try and connect the dots and see if what God's calling you to is a specific lifestyle or a specific way of living, right? That's what we call discernment. Like when you were getting ready to move from where you are to where you're going, right? Hopefully you had some kind of discernment process. You weighed the pros and cons. You looked at, what would this mean for your job, for your ministry, for your family, for your lifestyle, for your relationships, for your finances, all these things. And then say, all right, well, where is God in all this? And how is God calling me forth or inviting me to stay back? That's discernment, right? So I went on a discernment retreat. So I call on a Thursday. I waited. I looked at it. I'm like, oh, it's in Jersey. I'm like, nobody will know me in Jersey. I can go to Jersey. It's safe. It's anonymous. So I literally waited till 3:30 on Thursday, and I called, and I'm like, yeah, just call and see if you have room for the retreat tomorrow. And of course they didn't. And this sweet old nun's on the phone. Oh, sweetheart. She said, I'm sorry. She says, we're all filled up. She said, but how about if I put you on the waiting list? I'm like, yes. I'm like, yeah, how about you put me on the waiting list? I'm like, just curious, how many people are on the waiting list? She's like, 8 of them. I'm like, oh, 8. I'm like, you put me on that waiting list. And so I'm thinking to myself, oh, cool, I dodged this one, right? Like, all right, Lord, I tried, I called, no room at the end. So literally, she said, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And I said, I told her a little bit about myself. I said, but thanks for your time. I said, maybe I'll see you around. Hang up the phone, and literally about 7 minutes later, my cell phone rings, and I pick it up, and it's the same little old nun. And she said, honey, guess what? She said, I just had a cancellation. I said, what about your wait list? She said, something in my heart told me he needed to be here this weekend. She said, we'll see you tomorrow at 5. I swallowed my tongue. I almost choked. I'm like, oh my God. Now I got to tell my family and my friends and my boss I need a weekend off because I'm going on a discernment retreat. So true to form, I just let everybody think I blew everything off and went to the beach for the weekend.
That's amazing.
So I went down and I participated in the prayer and in the workshops. And I'm like, oh. Like, I don't know, God. Really? 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 And then that just started the whole process. Here we are today. A couple twists and turns, a few ups and downs, but here we are.
So before you were a nun, what was your career like? What was your day-to-day life like?
Sure. I worked for Boys and Girls Club. I was what we call a youth development professional. I worked 7 years inner city in the drug corridor with young people. And then I worked 7 years. I actually ran a clubhouse in the suburb, a summer camp, a couple after school programs. I loved it.
That's amazing. And when you finally did kind of become a sister, what was your family's response?
Well, my dad was so pissed off at me. He was like, that's it. You can't come home. I couldn't go home for holidays. My dad wouldn't talk to me. My
Why?
dad didn't come because he's old school Italian. I was to get married, have kids, and stay at home. Close to home. Not at home, close to home. Neighborhood. 1 or 2 doors down.
Okay.
So he was not having it. He just could not wrap his head around it. My brothers immediately started a pool like a football pool. See
Like
how
how
long
long it's gonna last.
Yeah, pretty
Oh
much.
my god.
Pretty much. But they came to all my initiation steps and whatever. My mom was like, she's like, I don't know. My mother went to Catholic school. She actually wished I would have become one of the Linwood sisters, Zena, because those ladies taught her. You know,
Wow, that's
my
amazing.
mother's like, if you're going to become a nun, why not just go right across the bridge in Rhinebeck? So, yeah. And then, all right. So the truth is, the first community I was with, it kind of sent me home.
I sent you home, the first one?
Yep. It wasn't working out. It just wasn't a good fit. And I didn't have good discernment skills, which are important, right?
Yeah, yeah.
To be able to say, well, maybe this is not where God wants me to be. So
Mhm.
after 2 years, they were like, yeah, this probably isn't going to work out. So came home and then
Were your brothers like exchanging cash at that point, or?
at that point the pool was over and I had already collected all of it because I had outlasted it. Now, I will say my dad, I remembered it so vividly. I owned my own home before I entered, right? And so I gave it to my youngest brother when I entered rather than selling it. Because, he was college age and he worked in the family business. He deserved it. I got it for cheap. My family renovated it. He deserved it, right? So I gave it. So I remember I'm sitting on the couch in what used to be my house, which is now my brother's house. And I see my dad walking up the pathway and he opens up the door and he opens up his wallet and he throws me some money. He goes, go color your hair and get some real clothes. Dinner's at 5.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
I'm like,
Oh
okay, because
my.
that community I was in a habit and I wasn't allowed to color my hair, so I was in gray hair.
Were you born and raised in New York or Pennsylvania?
New York.
New York. Okay. I hear like a little something, and I couldn't figure out where it was.
I spent some time in New England as well. I probably have a little mutt mix or something.
Okay.
So, is it okay if we dive into some just kind of spiritual questions for you?
Sure, absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Advice, or advice that you might give. So, my first question is, last podcast we were just discussing kind of how we were handling or navigating these kind of challenging times we're in right now, where
Mm-hmm.
it just feels like kind of dark and kind of scary. And we were talking about that. We were talking about faith. And I brought up an athlete. You're into sports, Sister Mary. I know you're into sports. So, Paige Beckers, who plays for the WNBA?
Mm-hmm.
So she's very Christian and she's very vocal about being Christian and she's very vocal about having a relationship with God. And she's been getting a lot of hate on social media from people who are saying, you can't be a lesbian, you can't be queer and also be a Christian. That's just two competing things that can't exist. And so hearing those statements from people who are saying that to her, I'm just curious how that sits with you and if that aligns with who you know God to be.
Well, I hope you know how that sits with me, right? It doesn't sit well with me because who is anybody to judge anybody else? Let's start right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can go back into the Bibles and Bible stories where there were people whom society, whoever that is, right? The people who thought they were the norm, you know, didn't like the way other people were living their life or who they were. And so, they kind of reacted and responded the way they did. You know, those of you who are listening, who have kids or grandkids or like me, nieces and nephews, and, other young people in their life, think about them. Is there any one thing that young person could do that would cause you to love them any less? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't even create them, right? God created them. God created us. So no, it doesn't sit well with me. That's why it's very important in my ministries, wherever I land, that we are an open ministry, that we allow for people to come. Who you are in certain portions of your life, is your business. I don't think God shuns anybody because of their sexuality. You live a good life, you're good to people, you're a good human, you know, there's no sin in that.
Mm-hmm.
Be who you're created to be. So no, I have a problem with that. I have a problem when priests stand up there and, dictate who can and can't go to communion. If you're
Mm-hmm.
divorced, if you're in this kind of relationship, Who are you? Who are
Mhm.
you? I don't see Jesus Christ on your birth certificate, you know? So, yeah, I can you tell I'm passionate. I have a real problem about that. You know, I tell people, Catholic or not, you want to worship with us? Everybody's welcome. Who am I to check your card at the door?
Mhm.
You know, I mean, it's all about being inclusive, you know. So I love it when people try to challenge me on that stuff. Bring it on, you know. I hope you're ready to choke on Bible and verse, chapter and verse, because you know what you're spewing.
Yeah. So based on that, Sister Mary, if someone kind of came to your office and was just said to you they felt shunned by their religion or their church, but still feels a really strong calling to God,
Hmm.
what advice would you give them in that?
Well, first off, I would tell them I'm sorry. I'm sorry they're being met with that kind of a personal hatred, right? Or that kind of, that kind of demeanor. So that would be my first thing. Second, I would tell them, hang in there. You know, if you go to a doctor, right? So you have a nagging pain, and you've been to an ortho, and he's ignoring you, but you know you have that pain. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Go to a different doctor. You're going to
You
find
better
somebody.
believe it. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're going to a church that isn't accepting or welcoming, then you go to a church. If you encounter a priest, a nun, a pastor, a so-called religious, you know, you find another place to be. You know, there are some days, I pull the sword. I'm ready to have a good joust. You know, and then there are days where I say, you know what, your ignorance isn't worth it. Listen, no one is holier than no one else. You know,
Yeah.
there are no rankings in God's world. There are not. Human put that on there. So who is anybody to tell me who I am or how I can and cannot love or be in relationship? You know, the important thing is, how do I live my life? How do I treat and welcome others? I mean, I just interviewed at a retreat house, and that's one of the questions I asked. How LGBTQIA are you?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And they said, we're not. And I said, okay. I said, I think our conversation's over. I said, that's not who my God is. And that's not where my spirituality lies. So I wish you the best of luck. Hope you get the best candidate, but I also hope you get somebody who challenges you to change. There's enough drama and crap in the world. I don't want to be a part of that. You know what? My ministry is a ministry of healing. All of ours. We're all called to be a balm. We're all called to be healers.
I think that's just so beautiful to hear, and I'm sure that there's so many people listening who I can imagine are feeling really touched right now because I think just to hear that from someone like you probably gives a sense of healing to people who have felt that way, that there's hope. Glow, you had a question?
So, what did you study before you went? Did you study like philosophy, or did you like what did?
Studied the ponies. That was about it. I didn't, I think I tried college 3 times.
Hmm.
I couldn't figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Hmm.
So I really didn't, but I read a lot. I like to read. And so I just started like reading different things, and experiencing life, you know. And that's kind of where the itch comes from. So all my nuns have minimal 1 or 2 masters, and most of them have a PhD. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, fluff. I used to think I was dumb. Somebody was somewhere along the line must have told me I was dumb. I came to find out later I was lazy when I graduated with a 397 and gave the commencement address at Fordham. I guess I'm not dumb. I must have just
Yes, I love
but here we go, right? So again, it's the messages that we're told, over the years that kind of hold us back and hold us down, and it's only when we surround ourselves with good people, like-minded people, and we find our strength within that we begin to grow and really thrive. I don't want to survive. Too many people are surviving.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Yes. It's
Yes.
it's so funny, Sister Mary, because your story about that nun that you made that phone call and that you were hoping like you were like hoping to get on the waiting list and then like you were like, oh, she called you back. Do you remember how we met and I called you? And I was thinking that you were gonna say, you can't come here. And you were like, come from it. And it was like Vic and I showed up, and it was clear that we were a couple. And I was like, okay, this is when she's going to turn us away. And you were like, no, take a tour, stay. Every bit of like meeting you and your level of acceptance for Vic and I just was like, it's similar to your story, where I was just waiting for the kind of the bottom to drop or the moment to happen where we got turned away. And we were never turned away. We were accepted with open arms. So I really appreciate that.
But why would I? Yeah, and you're welcome. And you know, but that's what we're all called to do, right? We're all called to do that. Who the hell am I? Who am I to turn anybody away? I'm gifted with my ministry at Linwood. I'm gifted with the opportunity to answer the phone and open the door and welcome people. And it's not just there; it's in everyday life. You know, who am I not to hold the door for the person behind me? Who am I not to push my cart over to somebody who's struggling to get out of the car? You know, I mean, come on. And that's not pious holier than now. I mean, believe me, there are some days you want to ask me how my days are. There are some days where I don't want to look at people. I don't. You're on your own. But you know, I mean, come on. The bottom line is, you know, God, we all have a choice. We can be assholes or we can be apostles. And I want to be an apostle.
Oh, that quote. I want that t-shirt.
Not on a t-shirt.
Oh my God, that is, I would love to see you in that t-shirt. That would be,
I think we have to make that shirt for her.
yes. Can we make that shirt? Yeah.
I think we can make that shirt for you.
But I have this quote in here that on my desk. I love it. It says, I get up every morning determined to change the world and to have a hell of a good time.
So, what is your day-to-day life like? Like, because I've watched Sister Act so much, and I don't think it's quite like that, but in my mind, I like to believe it is. But like, what is it really like? What are your days really like being a
Well,
sister?
I'll give you this for your own discernment, because if you're still discerning what you're going to do there, Gloria, here's the story. Here's how it rolls. Yes to both. Yes to both. There are communities like Sister Act, you know, who they have what we call the honorarium. They live by a schedule, you know.
Mm.
They get up at, and this was my first community that I belonged to. We were up at 5:15 every morning. We got showered and dressed into our little habits. Then at 5:45, we were in the chapel. We had our private morning prayers, and then a half hour later we had mass, and then after mass we had another set of prayers. Then we silently walked from the chapel back to the dining room in the convent. We had our breakfast, and then we went over to school and we started the day because we were a school community. We
Mhm.
lived right at the school. We were 28 people. Imagine,
Mhm.
right? And then, you know, you went about teaching and doing what you did and doing your thing. And then at 3 o'clock, all the nuns left school and came next door, and we had snack together. And then we prayed the rosary together. And then we went back over to school for a little bit, prepare our classrooms for tomorrow, whatever. And then we met in chapel again at 5 o'clock. We had evening prayer. And then at 5:45, we went over and had dinner. And then after we had dinner, communal dinner, we sat and talked, shared our day. After that, we went into this big old community room with a circle of rockers and recliners. We had recreation, and then we ended recreation at 7:45 with a little fervorino called a good night. It was a little intro to tomorrow's scripture infused with the charism or the kind of the tagline for the community. And then you went into sacred silence. You weren't allowed to speak. You went to bed or you went to your classroom and prepared for the day, whatever. And that was your day. And that didn't last long. That's a great way to live life if that's how you're called. And there are sisters who still live that way. And then there are sisters like myself in my community. I live in a 5-bedroom home. I live with 3 nuns. You wouldn't know unless you knew us. We're in a very nice neighborhood, corner lot, swimming pool, 2-car garage, family room,
Wow.
fireplace. The 2 sisters I live with are on our leadership team, so they're our governing body, if you will. They travel a lot. I work at Linwood. I'm there a lot in residence, and I'm home there a lot. So we get up. Everyone gets up at her own time in the morning, does her own morning routine. You know, we pray in the morning, but we all have different schedules. One of the other sisters I live with, she's an early bird. She gets up, she prays in the morning, she goes to the pool and swims, comes back, gets ready and goes to work. And the other sister's older. She gets up when she gets up and goes to work and does what she does. You know, we have to schedule and plan like families and other people when we're going to eat dinner together and when we're going to pray together. A lot of nights it's kind of spontaneous.
Now, do you guys like watch TV together and stuff? Like pop popcorn and sit on the couch and like watch movies or together?
And have happy hour on Friday night
No,
if we
no,
have.
no, no happy hour, but like you guys have you
Yes,
guys like
yes, yes, and yes. Of course we do. So yeah, of course, like any other, group. It's we because we're in all different weight directions.
yeah.
We say, what, Saturday night, let's watch Conclave, or why don't we do this, or hey, what, when are we all home tonight this week? Let's go out for ice cream. So we do find ways to be community, to be together, and then or we'll break out a deck of cards or some Uno, or
Oh no,
again,
yes.
oh, get crazy,
Real
girl.
no.
Or,
Yeah.
like I said, in the winter, it's great because in the winter, we say, 5 o'clock, whoever's home, the fire will be in the fireplace. I'll open up a bottle of wine and we'll have some hors d'oeuvres for dinner, and catch up. And in the summertime, it's usually, who's home, who wants to throw something on the grill, you know.
Okay. So what is your ministry?
So secularly, you would call it a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a job; it's a ministry. I don't go punch a clock and make a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I choose to do something that gives me a life and energy, and I'm passionate about, and I feel makes a difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, my ministry is I'm the executive director of a retreat house. So it's kind of fun. I get to do the administrative things, which I love,
Uh-huh.
OCD. So that kind of stuff is fun, and look at ways to grow and to change and to infuse new life into this ministry. And then I also do things like I have people who I see for spiritual direction. So, folks come one on one, and it's really not direction. I just call it spiritual journeying.
Yeah.
Where we listen into it intunely. So I do that, and I run programs. I give retreats. I love to give retreats. I love to just share my faith with others, and so I do a variety of things, which is fun.
I saw this article that was saying a lot of young people are starting to take not vacations, but take like little retreats at convents or monasteries or religious spaces because they are feeling such kind of stress and anxiety about life in the world right now. Have you seen or felt like there's been an uptick in people wanting to go and be in these kinds of spaces?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we found, like, after 9/11, the churches were filled again, right? So
Mm.
anytime in history, if we look anytime in history that we have suffered a lot of difficulties or things have happened, and there was a lot of uncertainty, um, a lot of negative energy going on in the world, people revert back to religion. Why? Because that's what we know, and that's a place of comfort. People associate it with a place of comfort, place of peace, and a place of healing. I just pray that they're met with some really good, really open, really solid theology,
Mhm.
right? Because we're all looking for something. We all want meaning,
Mhm.
and the world is just, I won't say it, but it ain't good
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, we feel
Yeah.
you. Mhm.
So yeah, people of our ages, your age, are going on 8-day silent retreats because they just desire that opportunity. You got it, just to recalibrate, and we watch them leave refreshed and renewed.
Well, part of what's refreshing, I feel like, about those silent retreats is that, well, first of all, I didn't think I could do it. I was like, be silent for 3 days? No. But it's so great because you're not on your phone, right? So that's half of it. Is you're not on Instagram, you're not checking emails, you're not whatever. But then I noticed, like, because I can't speak out loud, so much of the stuff that I realized that I was saying and kind of like feeding was negative, whether it be about talking about politics or whining about things that weren't happening in my career. Like the talk that was coming out of my mouth a lot, the things that I was conversing about weren't very positive. And so to
Mhm.
sit and not be able to speak and be in my thoughts and walk around the beautiful
Mhm.
gardens and just listen and just be in touch with nature just helped so much, helped clear a lot of that negativity and kind of refresh, like, and renew my mind
Mhm.
and spirit in a way that then once I was like, oh, now I can use my voice. Let me be a little bit more careful or discerning about how I'm using my voice. So I just I had I mean I we're Vic and I are so sad that it's closing, and yeah, crazy.
Gloria, have you done it? It's the same. Have you done any kind of retreat of
I
sorts?
I have not. I have not, but I'm listening to
Get
this.
to New York before December.
Has a
Get
ticket. She has a flight, a free
You
flight
have
from her 50th birthday that she was gifted to fly here.
I do. I do. I'm going to have to look into it. I just, there's so many things that you're saying that I feel very aligned with a lot of the things that you're saying. It's very, it does my heart good. So I want to also ask this other question. Do you have a favorite Bible quote?
two of them.
Okay.
Two of them. I love Jeremiah 29:13. I know full well the plans I have for you.
Yes.
Plans to prosper, plans for hope. I mean, that's right there. The fact that you know what, that's it, man. I have been marked from the beginning for goodness. I might screw it up, but I can always come back to the fact that that there's just nothing but good things coming. And
What's
of
that
course,
number again? Tell me that one again. I'm going
sure,
to.
Jeremiah 29 verse 11. And the second one is Psalm 139. And that's the one that, I probe you, I know you, I know when you sit and when you stand. I watch you from afar, not to be creepy, but the fact that, God is right there. Like there, yeah, exactly. I can go nowhere or do nothing. God's got it. I see you. I know where you're going. And I got you. You're going to fall, but I got you. So those are two.
Sister Mary, we have some questions from so some are silly. Let's see. So we talked a little about the movie Sister Act, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good
Okay.
one. Whoopi Goldberg.
So is there a nun in that movie that you feel is most like yourself?
Definitely Whoopi Goldberg. I mean,
Okay.
without divulging too much, I wasn't always a nun. Let's put it that way. And yeah, yeah. Let's just say, thank God, Facebook and Instagram wasn't around before the
Yeah.
convent, because there might be some things floating out there, not bad, but just like I'd be like, ooh, ooh, that wasn't a good one, you know. But yeah, definitely Whoopi Goldberg, just because I mean she was full of life, she was passionate,
Mhm.
she had a little spark to her, she was a little sassy, you
Mhm.
know.
Do you guys sing? I mean, do you guys ever sing together like they do in Sister Act?
Oh, good Lord, no. We do have a music group, but guess what? Not a, listen to my voice. You would think I smoke cigars in the crib. I'm such a rat. No, no. We do have a music group, but yeah, that's another mess. Not all nuns can sing. We can't all sing. We can't all play instruments. Nope.
Okay. Lastly, what are the biggest misconceptions about nuns? Do you think?
Oh, that all we do is pray all the time. That right? That we
Mhm.
live this very austere, kind of lifestyle. I mean, now we still within reason. We go to pubs, go out with family and friends, and go on vacation, cruises. We went to Ireland for 10 days. I mean, I think people think, and some communities are stricter than others, but people think that's it. Your life is over. You know, um, Once you join the convent, you're going to become a miserable old woman because you're never going to have sex and you're just going to be a crazy cat lady. No, that's not the way it goes. One or two might turn out that way, but that's not always.
There's always some.
I would just say, like, we started this whole series, right, about spirituality and faith based on just this collective feeling of depression that so many people
Mm,
feel right now, isolation, depression, and feeling like there's so much going on in the world, and just feeling
mm,
helpless because it's like, what can I do in my little corner of the world, in my little apartment, in my little room to make any
mm.
difference when things are so bad? What would you say to someone who's just like overwhelmed, who's just like, what can I even do to help?
That's a great question. First, yeah, I say before, be a good human. Just look out for your neighbors. Seek out other people. Keep your eyes open. Keep your heart open. See who's out there and what's out there. Where can you be a little salve, a little balm for somebody? Where can you make somebody's day? And a lot of times it's just saying hello to somebody in the grocery store or online or when you pass them. I mean, think about it. We're also so deeply into our own guilt and shame and hatred and crap, so look for a challenge, set your sights on someone or something that could, that you could turn around or, and seek somebody out in your neighborhood could use that friendly hello every day, or put their paper in their mailbox, it's without getting shot. It's little things. It's those little things, Mother Teresa, it's not the big things. She talks about it's the little things. The little things are what counts. Think about what made your day in the last 24 hours.
Mm.
You know, just stop and think about it. Who was it or what was it? And half the time it's just a fun text or somebody reaching out. I mean, that's one of the best things we can do. Send somebody a text, send them an old picture, you know,
Yeah.
be present with people, be gentle with yourself and be gentle with others.
That's beautiful, Sister Mary.
Wow. Well, this has been absolutely delightful. Truly, I feel like very vibey. I feel like my vibration feels very high right now. We really love that you came on here to chat with us. It's been really sweet and special. Thank you so much for being on the pod.
You're welcome anytime. And if any parting words, um, just because we're not met, with good intentions from certain people in certain places, shake the dust off your feet and move on. And there is goodness and life and love and positive energy waiting for us around every corner. It's up to us to go seek it. You ask what we could do, Zena, seek it out. Look for the places and ways that people are looking to embrace you and love you and grow with you. And come on, nobody wants to survive. We all want to thrive. Thanks for having me.
Whoa, nice. That was a great way to end it.
Thank you so much for listening to My Best Ex. And thank you, Sister Mary, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.